Oh, this has been muted the whole time. Great.
Start over.
Nice.
Hopefully they understood what I was saying. Pretty much all I said was right click and said open and edit in Photoshop. Okay, so in Lightroom, if you go into edit and then preferences, it will, this external editing will show you when you open it up in Photoshop, what format do you want to put it in, what color space do you want to put it in, what's the depth and everything. So I usually do TIFF. I don't know why I do TIFF over PSD. Probably just their personal. Is it preference? I mean, TIFF supports layers too, so it's not that big of a deal. And then I do sRGB only because I'm always dealing with I'm dealing with 99% web and not really print. If you were really into, all your stuff you were getting printed, you'd probably end up wanting to use like this Pro Photo, which has bigger color space, I think, than the other one. And then the bit depth, this will contain a lot more data in your shadows and highlights, keeping it at 16, but there are some Photoshop plugins that will not work. They'll be grayed out if you keep it in 16-bit. And I can show you how to drop it down to 8-bit when you're in Photoshop. So when I right-clicked that and edited it, it made another copy right next to the photo. So this is my original CR2 file, and then this is the edited TIFF file. And this is actually right now opened in Photoshop. So if I make a change to this and click Save, they're big files. That's also why. If I was doing something where they didn't really need full resolution stuff, I'd probably end up exporting everything as JPEG if I had to go into Photoshop for every single thing. But if I'm just doing one at a time. So once I hit save on that, it automatically updated it in Lightroom. So I didn't have to. So that's technically called like a round trip. That's when you start in Lightroom. You're doing all your adjustments over there on the right. You right-click the file, say edit in Photoshop. It goes into Photoshop, you make a bunch of other changes, you click save, you can close it, and now it's updated back here. Because now when I'm in here, when I'm ready to create my disk or ready to export JPEGs, I'll just hit select all, and this one will be included with a bunch of all the other ones. Okay, so in Photoshop, Jamie, are there things you do in here that you don't do in ACR? That like you couldn't do in ACR? Like do you do skin softening and stuff?
No, I don't do any skin
What about
softening.
spot removal?
No.
Do you do all that in ACR?
No, in ACR, no. Just in Photoshop now.
Wait, what?
I just do minimal in here. Exposure, if I need to bring in the shadows or bring down the highlights.
He's in Photoshop right now.
I'm in Photoshop.
No, oh, okay, I thought you were in. Oh, yes, I do everything in Photoshop.
Oh, everything.
Just minimal stuff in Lightroom.
Okay, so one thing that I'll use in if I have a lot of cloning or a lot of skin correction to do on someone, it's gonna be a lot faster in Photoshop to do than in Lightroom. Lightroom does have its cloning and stuff. So like if I
don't like the
yeah, it's certainly not the same. But if I'm just doing like some quick things, and I want to, because my goal is to stay in Lightroom as much as possible, just so I'm not generating all those extra 100 megabyte TIFF files, and they're like way bigger when you're creating all these external files. So if I just had to do a quick spot removal, I would just grab this clone thing, and then you can change the size, and then click on something, and it'll copy it out, and then the H button will hide and show the where your spot is, and if you don't like where it did it, you can move it. And then now on the newer version, you can actually do like shapes, so you can go like that, and it'll clone the whole shape over. So that's a lot easier. And then if you just want to get rid of some wrinkles and stuff, you can do the same thing with like a clone or a heal. And then if you went like this, let's say you went like that, and then obviously it's gonna try to get rid of it. Look, it copied it off the lip. So we'll move it up here, and then you can just fade it out like 50%, just so it's not like you're completely removing it. You're just like cloning a piece of it over it, and I do that in Photoshop a lot. So if we go into Photoshop, and let's say I was going to do, let me show you how I was doing the grass, because because everything was dead. So let's go like here. So this is, let's compare these two files. So this right there is the original, and then there's my edit. So see like the grass, how, okay, so to do that, I just went into Photoshop. These files are huge. Okay, so one of the tools I love in Photoshop is a color replacement tool. So this is on the brush, and you can click and hold the brush and change it to color replacement. And that's really good for if there's skin tones that are wrong, or if you're trying to replace grass color and everything. Like for instance, see he has like a red tone right here on his temple. So what I'll usually do first before I just start like messing with this, see, because it does whatever color you have. So right here I have it set to green, but you can hold down Alt and your brush turns into like the eyedrop tool, and you can just pick a color. Now I could just start painting right here, and it'll help just get rid of some of like the red tones, like the really high, bright red tones. But before I do any of that, I usually duplicate it, just so I have a copy of my original below it, and then I would make my corrections to the top layer. So that way, if it doesn't look as real, I can take that top layer and fade it out like 50%, and that just helps bring back the natural of the original, but still making some correction. And that's how I did all the grass stuff too. And I find it a lot easier to do that with like wrinkles too. So if you're trying to get rid of people's wrinkles, I find it a lot easier to completely remove them all, and then take that layer and fade it out to 50%, instead of sitting there trying to fade it out with your brush the first time at 50%. I just find it a lot easier to just completely remove them and then just pull it back. So like let's say, because I've seen people where these smile lines were really, really, really dark, creating really dark shadows. So obviously you wouldn't want to remove that, but you don't want it to distract from the photo. So let's just pretend that was like really distracting, even though it's not in this photo. So I'm gonna take like the you could either do it with like this tool set right here is all of the heel brush and the patch, and there's all different types of so this one is spot healing, where you can literally just like draw right on it and it will try to like correct it, but you can see sometimes it's not working because it's looking at the pixels around it, trying to see like what color it should be. So for something really small, like right there, it would do like a perfect job. But when you're trying to do like really big areas like this, and you don't really have a lot of skin tones, you can see it's just trying to capture the wrong thing. So that's why they kind of make a bunch of different types of tools that do the same thing. So I, in this case, would use the patch tool, where you would then highlight a circle around the part that you want to do, and then you can drag it to wherever you want to copy it from. And that would look a lot more, and it's not accidentally grabbing from the wrong area. So then I would grab that one and pull that. And if you can't do it, you can really, grab it from wherever, because it's looking at skin tones. Okay, so like that. Now that obviously looks like he has no smile line, so I would take my layer, because this is on a duplicate, and I would just start pulling it down. So then there's my edit, and if I toggle that on and off, you can see the difference between. Okay, then on the grass, what I did on these ones, so now that I like where his face is, I'm just going to flatten that. Now, as soon as you flatten it, you pretty much lost that ability to do that. But I've gotten to the point to where I know that, okay, I'm not going to make a change to that. So whereas if you were unsure whether or not you liked how bright that was, I probably wouldn't flatten it yet, because once you flatten it, you can't really go back unless you keep hitting undo until you.
I was going to say, you can use history to go back.
Yeah, you can
flatten the layer.
Yeah. So.
But if you go too far ahead, then you're going to lose edits.
So once I know that I've done what I wanted to do to it, I'll just flatten it, just so it's a lot easier to manage, because I'm not. And this is a lot different than if I was doing like a creative shoot where I was doing one final picture. Like when I was doing like the Sin City picture, I mean, I had like 50 layers, and I would never flatten it in that point. But in something like this, where I'm doing picture after picture after picture, I'm not sitting there trying to, create and maintain layers. I'm just trying to get my edit done, flatten it, save it, and go on to the next one. So on this one, I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to grab my color replacement tool right here, and then I'm just going to hold down the Alt key and then select a green, and then I'm just going to start painting. And if you don't like the color, undo it and try to find another green, because a lot of times it's picking, there's like so many different shades of green. You could sit here and like keep trying until you actually got a good version. Okay, so let's just go with like that one. Okay, now I'm also zooming in and out. This is also another trick. So I'm on a tool right now, and I can either go to my zoom tool and sit there and zoom in and out. And if you hold down Alt, it switches to like out as you click. And if you let go of Alt, then as you left click, it zooms in. But if you're on a tool and you want to stay on that tool, you can hold down Control and Space at the same time. And while you're holding down Control and Space, you can drag your mouse left and right. And then when you let go of Control and Space, you're back to the tool that you were on. So it's a quick way to quickly switch to zoom and then let go, and you're still on the same tool. And then if you zoom in and you're in the wrong area, you can hold down Space and just drag the picture around. And then when you let go, you're back to the tool you were on. Okay, so I'm going to paint this grass green. And again, it's going to look fake, but it's because I have it on a duplicate layer and I'm just trying to get it done so I can pull it back. So I would just paint this real quick. And I have my brush set to like a really soft brush. So like if I go over here, you'll see like the edges are very soft. So it's not, if I switch this to hard, then as I paint, it's going to give a really hard edge. Whereas if I did it soft, you can see like it blends in a lot. So I have it really set to all the way soft. And then I'm going to just kind of go by here and just kind of go through here. And this is, I don't know why, but this is pretty CPU intensive. As I drag this, I'll notice sometimes I won't see a response. And in Photoshop, if you're in the middle of doing something and your computer starts to think, I would stop and let it respond. Because if you keep trying to do stuff, it'll catch up, but sometimes it'll miss the direction your mouse was going. And then if you were holding down a mouse button, it'll do a straight line from your previous point to your new point. And then you have to undo it, and if you don't let go, your undos only work every time you let go your mouse and start over again. So if I did this entire green patch in one mouse stroke, and I hit undo, I would lose it all. So I keep letting go and doing it over and over.
Have you changed your settings so your Photoshop is more priority for your RAM?
I probably did when I initially installed it, but let's see, so right... So I have it set to use more, and then I always increase the history states, because I think the history states is set to 20 when you first install, so you can only hit undo 20 times before it's like, okay, I lost all that. So I take that and turn it all the way up to as high as it goes, just so I can hit undo like a lot more times than 20 times. And same thing with over here. Now, on these areas where it's closer to the dress, I'll like zoom in a little bit more. And it's not that big of a deal if you hit the dress because I am fading it out. And then once it gets into here, now there's obviously a bunch of different ways I can do this area, but I'm just gonna just shrink it down and then just keep going in. But another way I could have done that is to highlight it. So I could have taken like this tool and then sat here and just kind of outlined it real quick. And then I would have right-clicked and then choose Refine Edge. And what Refine Edge means is I can actually go in and make adjustments to my selection after the fact. So I can smooth it out. And what smooth does is if you have a bunch of straight lines, it'll help kind of curve those edges more into a round edge. Feather is when, so see how sharp this line is, whereas if I go, so there's like super sharp, and then there is like feathered. So it'll help, feather out the edge. And then shift edge will look at pixels right next to it, and you can have it, oh no, that's, yeah, like that. So see how now it's like selecting, so it's kind of taking your selection and like shifting it one direction or another. And then smart radius looks at the pixels right next to what you selected, and it tries to find a better selection. So because I was really close to the black and because there's grass right next to it, if I increased this to more pixels, it's going to try to outline the pants better for me. So that's why sometimes you can go like really choppy around something and then just turn on that smart edge and it'll look for those edges for you. See, now it did a much smoother, and I'm just going to click OK. And I think this is inverted right now, isn't it? Or maybe not. No, it's not. Okay, so now I don't have to worry about painting on his pants, because now I can take the brush really big and just go like that. Except I also... Oh, was that over there from before? Yeah, that was from before. So I'm just going to paint that like that. And then, so see how his pants right there? If I wanted to go back to black, I could just do the same thing that I'm doing and just grab the color of black and then go right in there like that. So even if you like mess up and like go over something, you can you can fix it like that. So now that's like really bright green grass, and I'll take this a layer and just pull it back. So that's the edit, whereas if I turn that off, it's a lot less dead looking than that. Okay, and then, okay, so then another thing that I'll do often in Photoshop is skin smoothing. So let me try to find a picture that would work good. And there's 1.5 million different ways to do skin softening. The one that I found that I actually like the most, I'm trying to think of what picture we did recently that would be really good as an example. You'd think those teenagers would be good, but because it was prom day, they really tried to make themselves look good. Here, I'll just find one of me. Perfect. No, maybe we'll find Shanda. Shanda will be better.
I was gonna say, take one for the team. Oh, never mind.
Well, it's not even needing
okay.
to be like softened though.
It's fine. I don't care. Take all my wrinkles out.
Well, this one's not really wrinkles. This one's just the skin softening. Okay, so when you soften skin, one thing you're trying to do is you're pretty much trying to like blur the skin tones, so you're not seeing all the imperfections in the detail. So before I do anything, I will first clone out any of the dark spots, light spots, pimples, anything like that. I'll edit that out first because you'll see them more, or it'll look better afterwards. So just any of these spots like this, I'll just click and get rid of. And I'm just on the smart healing brush. So just real quick. Now see, I didn't like the way that looked, so I'm gonna go like that. Okay. And then once you have it on your layer, I would go, okay, so I would duplicate the layer, and you take this top layer and you blur it. So you would go to this Gaussian blur right here, and then you're gonna want to find a blur to where their skin just kind of blends into each other. So I'll zoom in so you and you can notice I can still zoom using that control and space even when I have a window popped up. So that's really, you know, convenient to be able to like just jump in somewhere even with this open. Okay, so I'm going to go to about Okay, we're going to go to about there. And then I usually take that layer and I pull it down to about 70%. And then I'll go back to my original layer. So I'm just going to turn this one off. That was my original one. And this one's a non-edited copy right here. This is my blur layer, so I'll just write that. And I'll go original. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this one again. And I'm going to stick that one on top. And this one's going to be high pass. Okay, so on this one, you go up to, see, because if you just apply this blur and then you only apply it to their skin tone, they're going to look too like Barbie dolly. It's going to look too much like a porcelain doll. So you need to somehow bring the original imperfections of the skin or the original like texture of the skin back. And to do that, you can do it with this high pass layer. So we're going to go to filter and then other, and then you choose high pass. And what that does is it looks at like the edge detail and everything. So I'm usually around about 4. And then you set that one to linear light. Oh, so this is the blending mode, what I'm changing right here. So when you click on a layer, this right here tells the program how to blend this layer with the layers below it. And you can choose a bunch of different, you know, presets, and the one for this one is linear light, and you can see, look how detailed now the skin looks. It's almost like too detailed. So this one gets pulled back to about 30%, about right to there. And then I'll end up taking this layer and this layer. So I highlighted them both by holding down shift. I clicked the first one, held down shift, and then clicked the second one, and it selected my layers. And you can take this, and there's this icon right down here is a folder icon. So I just took that, and you can drag it right down to folder, and it sticks those 2 layers into one folder. And now I can toggle on and off the skin softening just with the eye. And then what I'm going to do is you only want to apply it to the skin tone, not the entire picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mask on this layer. So to create a mask, that's this button down here. This is like a square with a circle. So a mask is when you're telling Photoshop, on this layer, I only want certain parts of the image to be shown on the screen, and I want to hide other parts of it. So it's similar to like erasing part of a picture, but with a mask, you can always go back and tell it to, oh, like I accidentally erased too much. You can always bring it back. Or you can say, oh, I want to only fade this part out 50%, and I want to have this one 100% and this one 0%. So when you're doing skin tones, I would highlight it. I'm just going to grab this lasso tool, and I'm just going to start highlighting. You don't want to do skin softening, like on eyebrows, eyes, the mouth, or like the line around the nose, or like a chin line. You want to leave those edges like really sharp. So there's a couple different ways you could do it. You can either highlight the whole face and then deselect those parts that you don't want to highlight. So if I go like this, okay, so I could either do it like that and then start deselecting. So to deselect a selection in Photoshop, you can hold down Alt and if you look at the mouse cursor, when I hold down Alt, the minus sign appears, and that lets you modify the selection that you've already made. But on the minus sign, you're subtracting from it, so I can go into here and then remove the eyebrow. So now it's no longer selected. But if I accidentally did it too much, then like that, then I can hold down Shift, and you can see next to the cursor it turned into a plus. So now I can go in and reselect part of it like that. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going and remove the parts that I don't want to do skin softening on. And if you had one of those like tablets with like the little drawing board and a pen, this is a lot faster to do instead of like using a mouse.
I got one. It's the greatest thing ever.
That's what I'm hearing.
Come to the Christmas party. Who gave one away?
I know.
I was gonna say I couldn't find my pen, but it's right there. So I have one. In fact, I don't even know where my USB cable is.
Actually, I got mine very cheap off eBay.
Did you? How much did you pay?
I think I paid like $60.
Yeah, I think this brand new one I think was like 100.
I just need to do it.
And this is like the Intuos 4,
Yeah,
which I think they have like a different one now. But I'll just use it on certain things. So like I'll just leave it over here, and then when I need it, I'll hook it up, and then. So I'm not like using it all the time. I'm only using it when something kind of calls for
all
it.
the time as I'm setting and stuff. I just wish I had one. I think I would use it a lot.
So on this part of the nose, you just want to kind of keep the original, you know, the edge of the line. Because if you blur it out, her nose will kind of blend into the other part of her skin. And you don't want to do that. And you can be very choppy on this because we're going to feather it too, like a lot. So we're going to go like that.
It's hard to overdo this. Or I mean, it's easy to overdo this. Skin softening.
And that's why it's good to keep everything in layers, because sometimes I'll even apply it and you will, like, I have a feeling like after we apply it, you won't even be able to see what I did because I kind of like didn't do it enough. But once I have my selection, I can then just go to my blur layer and blur it more, or I can just get rid of that blur layer if I need to blur it less, and then I can go back in and make, but my actual selection, you can just do one time. And that's why making a mask is way better than ever using the erase tool. I don't even know if I've ever used the erase tool because you just don't. I'd rather use a mask and always.
Or you can paint a mask too to hide or reveal.
Right. It's the same thing. The only reason that why I'm not painting this is because I want to control how blurry the edges are going to be. Whereas if you're kind of painting it, if I kept going over the same area, the edge will stop getting like softer and softer. So yeah, you could certainly, and I've done that before, where if I just wanted to clean like the forehead or like the cheeks, instead of even doing the selection, I'll just grab the paintbrush with a really, feathered edge and just kind of like tap it on their forehead, and then I'm kind of done. Okay, so what am I missing here? Okay, so that's fine, like right there. And then, oh wait, let's get rid of this right here. Okay, and then I'm going to right click, go down to refine edge, and we're just going to feather this out again. So if you look at the edge, you're just trying to find a blurriness. And look, see how it's like hitting this cheek right here? I'm actually going to click cancel and fix that, because I can tell that would end up looking really weird. Okay, and then I'll go back into it. Okay, so is it updating? Every time I'm doing this screen recording, it ends up being like 100 times slower. See, I don't think it's updating right now. Oh, it's probably because I have that on. How come I don't see it moving at all? There it goes a little bit.
Mine is so slow, my computer, when I'm doing refine edge.
Okay, so now that I have a selection and I have not created a mask yet, if you click the mask button, it'll create a mask based on your selection. So I didn't have to just click create a mask and to do that. I could have created a mask first, made my selection, feathered it, and then grabbed the paintbrush. And on a mask, black is hidden and white is to show through. And if I go in here and toggle this on and off, you'll be able to see like if you look like in here and stuff, you'll be able to see the skin softening on and off. And if it's not enough, then I will go into the blur and you can either blur that some more, or you can, change the opacity of that one. So that one was at 72, so I can raise that one to about there. So that's a better example of what it's. Can you guys see that on that screen? Let me make this a little bigger.
Then you
could pretty much do this without the blur and age the person, couldn't you?
Go opposite?
Yeah, if you do the
Yeah,
high
maybe
pass, you can
older.
really accentuate
Oh.
wrinkles and things like that. And look,
Let's try it. Do I have to do a
just turn off your blur layer. You should be able to.
Oh, there you go.
I just or do the high pass layer again, but do it up higher. Like
Oops, custom. Like up here?
yeah, that's like
Like that high or?
clarity.
Here, wait, let me change this one to linear light so I can actually see it.
That's a beautiful picture.
Saturation.
It looks like you've been in the sun, Jen.
I got a spray tan, everyone. So good.
Perfect, look at that.
She's ready for the cover of Vogue.
So that's if you wanted to show skin softening before and after. You're like, this is before,
This is how you
and
do
this
it.
is after. So if your photo's like, this far away, I mean, that's quite a bit of, difference when you're looking at like, these edges and everything. So, and if I turn off that high pass layer, look how porcelain dolly it looks. And that's why you would want to add that high pass layer, because without it, it just looks,
No, I want to look like a porcelain doll.
you want like that?
So dreamy.
It looks real. So that's why I like that high pass layer. Now I have that whole thing saved in an action. So I can actually do that whole thing just by clicking one button, and it's creating all the steps and everything. And to create an action, you would just start at the beginning, and then you can just click this play button up here, and it opens up your actions. And you would
Just adjust it.
create a new one, and then you would hit record, and then do all your stuff, and then when you're done, you hit stop, and then you can give it a name. And that just makes it so whatever all the steps were. I forget, I think you just click on one of these things if you want it to stop. So if your setting changes, if the amount of your blur changes between every single one, you can turn off that little box that's next to it. And instead of the action just playing through the whole thing, it'll stop at that point and let you adjust the slider. So then you can make one action because I use the different sliders based on how far away the person is. So if they're really, really far away, I'm going to blur it a lot less. Whereas if they're really, really close up, I'm going to blur it a lot more. Okay, so, oh, look at that. There's a table. We ended up cropping it. Okay, so now we will try to do a head swap. So head swaps use this, you're doing the same thing with masks. Pretty much like so much of the stuff you're doing in Photoshop is with masks, so it's really good to really practice masks. And if you don't really understand the concept of masks, if we create a new layer on here, so I'm just going to create a new layer, and then we're going to draw something in red. Okay. Okay, so we'll go like that. Okay, so let's say I only wanted that to appear on her eyes. Okay, so we wanted to give her really bright red eyes because she's a demon or something. Okay, so we're going to create a mask on this one. So right now, remember, white is everything is showing, and black is everything not showing. So right here, this is my mask layer. And if I take my brush and change this to black, right? So now my brush is black. As I paint my brush, that'll start disappearing. And it's because I'm now, right here on this layer, I am telling it to disappear. Whereas if I messed up and I went too far, I could switch it back to white right here and then paint it back. So I'm not painting red at all right now. I'm just painting show that layer or hide that layer. So if you wanted everything to be gone, you would just switch it to black, make your brush really big, and just paint all over the whole thing. And then I could zoom into her eyes and paint white directly onto her eyes. Look at that. Perfect. And then you could fade that out. And go like, whee! And then she's like Terminator. So that's what masking is. You're hiding and showing. So to do the same thing with a head swap, you would want to find 2 pictures that you would want to copy their heads from one picture. And that's why head swaps are a lot easier when you're on a tripod. So when you're doing... so let's find someone's head.
Just get a bigger group picture.
Like what group picture do we do?
One with
All
kids
kinds of
with
group
one
pictures.
screen.
I think if you make it more relatable to something that somebody will actually do, it's easier to understand. Instead of being like,
I did one with the baby. The mom had her baby.
I know, I'm just trying to find a group on that.
He was crying.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Make it
if I was
relatable.
swearing, I got all swapped out. I turned it on, turned it back on. And so it was like crying. I mean,
When did we
I
go
can make
to,
myself laugh somehow. But I'm working.
Zion's.
I think I actually had a video of it.
There it
long
is.
time ago.
Okay, I have a group picture in here. Look at my grandpa didn't move at all. Right here. It's like, okay, do a silly one. And he like sits there and stays the same. Okay, so look, there you can see all my head swaps. So this was the original, and that is the edit. So like, look at his eyes right here. How come it moves in between them?
Because you weren't on a tripod.
Okay. No. No, I'm saying like if I go like this and then I switch over to this one, it like jumps to a different spot in the picture. Isn't it supposed to stay in the same spot? Okay, so like look at his eyes right here, and then her head, and then his head, and then right there, and then he was blinking.
What'd you do with that poor chap's leg in the background?
This one?
Yeah.
Well, he had one pant leg down. So I didn't like that it was like down, so I just grabbed his other leg and flipped it over.
Where is it?
Just Danny's leg.
Oh.
And then like this huge rock was in front of the leg. So I had to like take other people's legs and bring them over. Because I didn't like that rock.
Glad you amuse yourself. Glad you can amuse yourself.
Okay, let me try to find a picture to...
I have to make myself laugh.
You're like laughing in the background. Like this is the best day of my
In the
life.
middle of the night when I'm editing, I have to make myself. I have to keep myself entertained.
Okay, let me see if this group shot. I must have deleted my originals on that one because I didn't have the actual thing. Okay, so on this one and this one, I think we have... Okay, so we have this one and we have this one. So let's take this and this. Oh, and if you're going to do a head swap, you want to make sure that your edit is the exact same on both. Because if you try to do a head swap and copy one over from an edited picture, the skin tones aren't going to match. So you either want to do the headset totally in the beginning where all your picture is completely flat, and then actually applying all your edits over the whole thing might actually make it end up looking more real because you're kind of applying like effects to the whole thing. So I'm going to take these images and apply this edit to this image so they're the same. And to do that, I'm just going to click the previous button. Okay, so now these two pictures should be the same color. Okay, so I'm going to open up both of these in Lightroom. I'm just going to highlight them both and click Edit in Photoshop. Now, optionally, you could have said Open as Layers. And the thing that's nice about that is then they automatically just created them as layers. And I don't think it actually saves your TIFF file. So when you go to hit save, I think you have to tell it, give it a file name. And it would still show open Lightroom, but it won't. Yeah, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's going to open up 2 files, and you're going to want to take one of your files and stick it on top of the other one. So I'm going to grab this layer right here and just drag it over to this picture. So now I have 2 images right on top of each other like this. And I was obviously not using a tripod. And we will show what to do in that case. So I'm going to take this top layer, and I'm going to fade it out 50%, like that. And I'm going to try to line this up because you want it to like match as perfect as possible. So that way when you start copying, you have something to go by. Now I'm not going to necessarily try to match up the whole picture. I'm just going to look at one person, and we're going to see which person we want to swap out. Okay, so I'm going to grab... Here, let's put this one on top. Okay, so I'm going to grab this girl's face right here and put it on this picture right here, because I like this face better. Okay, so I'm going to take this top layer and let's just fade it out and try to match up. If we match up the whole picture first, then the scale will be more appropriate, whereas if I just tried to do one, I could have been slightly off and their head could have been a lot bigger. So we're going to take this. Now to resize a layer or an object on this layer, you can hit Control-T, or you can go up to Image and then, Edit, and choose Free Transform. And what that does is it will create these little edges right here. You don't want to grab the top and squish it down because now it's like the aspect ratio is wrong. So you want to use this top one, but you want to hold down Shift. So you can see when I don't have Shift, the aspect ratio is not staying the same, but if I hold down Shift, it forces it to stay the same. So I'm just going to try to line this picture up with the previous one. And again, I can still zoom in and everything. And you can use either your mouse or your keyboard arrow keys. So I'm looking right here, and then now I want to try to line up this part over here. So I'm holding down Shift still. Okay, so that at least is about the same size. You can see it's a little bit crooked. I could rotate it. But because I'm only doing like one person, it's not. You can see he like moved quite a bit. So when you hit enter, it saves that change on that layer. So now this layer is like this. So now I'm going to zoom into this girl. Okay. So we're going to take this face, and I'm going to create I'm going to fade this out and just make sure that everything's lining up perfectly. Because you want to find a point on the person's face that matches on both pictures, and I usually do it around the neckline. So that way you don't have to clone any part of it like below their neck. So if you can get it so their collar and their shoulder like lines up, then you can grab everything from their collar and neck up and clone it over. Because you want the part of it to match. So like especially like on this guy right here. Oh, he didn't even change. Oh, there it goes. So right here, I'm looking right here and I'm looking right here, and I'm just gonna try to line it up. So it looks like I actually need to rotate it a little bit. This shoulder right here is a little higher than this one.
Should have done the girl that closed her eyes or below.
Which one? This one? Okay, let's do this one.
Well, they're both squinty. Never mind.
Okay, so we'll do this top one. So we'll do this one on top of this file. So that one they're closed. And then we can do him too. So see how his mouth's open? Well, they're open them both. Okay, so we'll just...
Photo.
Yeah, you can. Now I've done that before too, where you just grab like So you leave their ears and their hair, and you just grab like this right here, and you can just swap that part. But that can get really scary because if they've turned their head and then all of a sudden
on that one it would be hard too because he's got different shadows on the other one.
Yeah. So now you have a shadow here.
And that would be really hard to do.
And even she like has a different shadow.
Yeah.
So okay, so I'm gonna take this is my top layer, and I'm just gonna fade it out a little bit just to make sure that something's lined up.
Oh, Miko.
And I'm just using my arrow keys to line up her neck like right here. So right here you can see it touches, and right here it touches. So that's good enough. I'm going to turn this back up. I'm going to create a mask, and I'm going to hide everything. So instead of everything being white, when you first create a mask, it creates it white. Or when you create a mask, if you hold down Alt while clicking the create a mask button, it then makes everything black. If you already created the mask and you forgot, then you can just hold down Control and hit I, and that inverts your selection. And if you can't remember any of these, that's just up here. Select and then inverse right there. Isn't that it? Or where is it? Where's invert? Oh, there it is. Adjustments, invert. So see how it says Control I. If you remember the keyboard shortcuts, they go a lot faster. So invert's just like making like a negative image, and since my entire mask was white, inverting it will just make the entire thing black. So now I can take my brush tool and start painting white on top of my mask, and it will bring back this new layer. So just like that. Now you want to make sure you toggle it on and off so you can see where you've messed up. That's like really important. So you can see her neck moved a lot. So I'm going to switch back to black and start unpainting this neckline. And over here, if you toggle it on and off. And you want to make sure you zoom out too, because sometimes you'll accidentally hit something way over here and you'll have someone's arm showing up on someone's face. And a lot of times you'll be a lot pickier, so I'll have someone come in too, like especially if I'm doing a really tricky one, and I'll say, does anything look weird? Or if I'm liquifying someone, making them skinnier, I'll be like, does this look weird to you? You know, make sure. Make sure, yeah, the liquify. We'll do it on this picture.
My mom's only been really bugging me to learn that for her. Yeah.
Just be careful not to do it too much though, because when it's unrealistic, like.
Then you're gonna end up on a website like Photoshop fails. And you need to look at the background lines. Like if there's a fence line or if there's like a vertical line, yeah.
And then when you learn it, everybody wants you to do it, and it's very time consuming.
That's why you only do it a little tiny bit where it's necessary. Like if a girl's leaning on something and it makes her arm bump out, and then you just push that in. Like that's what I do. I try to push that neck in. That'll be fine.
I forgot
but if you
how
like
you did
trim
that.
it down too much,
Neck
it's like the next time
I
somebody
forgot how you
Double shit.
Yeah. I was trying to show Shanda.
look different than.
I thought you outlined the
been a
neck.
while.
We just pretend it's my mom's
You
picture for
circle
20
it
years
to
ago.
do now.
I did my friend's picture.
Oh my
And-
gosh.
And then I think you took the
It was
bottom
for
layer and
her,
didn't you stretch it?
Engagement.
So you took the top
yeah,
one.
so you
Staying up way too
transform
late
it, you
doing
put it on
pictures,
the
and I, like,
other
shrunk
layer,
her
you
down,
transformed it, and you pushed
half the
everything
size
up,
that she is.
Mhm.
and then you masked
Just
it
messing
and
with
brought
it,
the
and
chin
then I
back,
sent her
but
all the
not
pictures, and
this
she was like,
part.
"Yeah, I can't use that."
So
on
couldn't
my,
you duplicate this part up here
on my
as a new
invitation,
layer
we're gonna get
and then
to
take
my
that
wedding
bottom
and be
one
like,
and
what
what
happened?
couldn't you
Like-
just like liquefy it and push it up?
Yeah,
You
you
ate
ate
the
the
whole
whole cake,
cake,
but
like,
it just
in the
does
meantime, like,
transform.
geez,
It's just
man.
easy.
I'm like, sorry, like, I
you
didn't
put
even
your
notice,
square
like-
around it, like,
I was just
You
editing
select
so
right
late.
here.
And it was just that one
well,
picture.
and I
Yeah,
would
you're
select-
transforming the neck,
I would
right?
select all the way down here, and then you
And
just
then the next day I look at it and I'm like,
Control T and transform it and push it up.
what is that one of the ones I posted on
And then
Facebook?
it's just
I'm like,
easy. Then you don't
But
have
you
to
still-
go into liquify.
But you still have
Luckily, I
another
never
layer on
post
top, right? And then
anything,
do you feather
especially
that?
when I-
then you
editing
bring
till
the
that
chin line
long in the
back.
morning. I'll
and-
come back next morning
because you're
and then
stretching it up,
relook
so
at
then it
everything.
takes away the
Because
double
same thing
chin.
with colors are off,
Yeah,
like
I
skin,
haven't done that in a
Yeah.
while.
skin
Everything's
softening's like
all
all
blurry,
crazy
but-
and like,
And their Adam's apple.
man, I was way too tired.
Yeah.
Wait a
bring
minute,
up
it
my
works really well.
sister's picture because the ISO was so
You do
high.
it enough.
Oh,
It was
it
really great.
depends
So I was
on
trying to
how
soften
big the
it.
chin
I was
is.
going to just Photoshop
And
soften
how-
You did it the other way.
Right.
Make it
There's-
chins.
Ended up
Butter
being
the
like a
chins.
big over mess.
There's some that it won't work on.
Lightroom has a really good.
Oh,
What do
I
you call
noticed
it?
that. I started
Luminance.
playing with that. I'm like,
Not luminance.
it's
What do they call it? It's over bioluminance. That's what it's called.
yeah, it's
Who was that awesome looking man in the smoke? Was that me?
Noise reduction.
Hit the smoke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should
that was
should,
good.
should we liquefy you?
brings up, I know it's like
You
I'll
can
take
liquefy
pictures
me
at
if
night
you
now.
want.
Where was it at?
I don't know. Oh,
And I can
I just try not to do that too much either.
Which one?
Because then it kind of looks blurry
Oh
too.
yeah.
That
was
one?
I go like
though.
third the way.
I was.
But I do
Oh,
that
there we
with
go,
all things,
Richard.
Even if it doesn't look
Oh, was it
really
Richard?
grainy.
No, let's
it just
let's
softens
just
everything
liquefy
up a little
Richard.
bit. I love it.
He's not here. Why not?
That's what happens when you're not here.
This is what happens, Richard.
Yeah, where is
What?
he?
We're gonna liquefy Richard.
Oh.
Ooh.
I don't know
Oh,
if
you
this
were
is. I don't know if
Talking
this
to
is
Richard, I need to
fixable.
give Richard his stuff back that I borrowed a year ago.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is fixable. That's pretty.
Yeah, I want to see you make his tummy go away in that one.
Go away? Oh, jeez. I guess you could push it in right here. Well, we could try it.
That's a hard one.
Proof of concept. So if it doesn't work, you just use the same tools that we're about to.
You know, once I do this once with my mom, she's like, Skinner.
This takes some computer processing power. So if your computer's slow and you start moving this Liquify and then it locks up, wait for it to respond. And if you can be done with that current Liquify, click OK and go back into it. Because if you keep trying to like push it and it's pretty tricky. So we're going to duplicate this first just so we have a copy of our original.
Quick question.
Yeah.
If you were gonna, like you see all over the internet, the face swaps where you take a man and a woman and you swap their
Mhm.
faces, is that pretty much just a mask with the copy, with the softened?
Yeah, the skin tones probably won't match, so you can use that color replacement where you can kind of help blend in their skin tones. Shanda and I did this one where we were split right down the middle, and I think I did like stitching.
That was the coolest picture.
I had to find. I googled
Stitches.
I googled someone's stitches, and it was on their stomach, like they just got stapled. And then I outlined the guy's stomach, took it, and then applied it to our face. Okay, so Liquify is up here in Filter, and you go down to Liquify. If you see one up here called Liquify, that means whatever your last filter was that you applied, that will apply it again. So if you see Liquify up here, don't click it, because it's going to apply the same thing twice. So you want to go to the one right here. When you click that, it opens up. When you click this zoom tool, if you want to zoom into a certain area, you're going to draw a square around what you're going to zoom into. It doesn't work the same with the control on the space. You can't zoom in the same like that. So I'm going to just zoom back out. Okay, so there's a couple different brushes you can do. So starting from the top, this one right here is to push. So you can push like that. And then based on the size, it makes it look a lot more real, right? Okay, so then this one right here is recover. So if I went like that and then I wanted to recover... Wait, isn't this recover? Yeah, reconstruct. So if you just needed to fix that, you can just start painting it back over. That looks funny. And it'll just start bringing it back. So if you paint enough, it's going to just revert back to the original. Okay, this one is a twist. So like that. And then if you hold down Alt, it'll twist the other way. So just left clicking will twist one direction. Holding down Alt and clicking will twist the other direction. And sometimes it's just good to do it on their eye.
I think it's an improvement.
So like that. But you see how now his glasses are not straight? So to fix that, you're going to want to take the reconstruct tool and paint this glasses line right back. So like this. So we're going to keep painting this back until the glasses get straight again. There. So now keep going like right there.
Now he's got a stroke.
Yeah. So now it just looks a lot more natural. Okay. So then this tool right here is it shrinks it in really small. So if we go to his mouth, it like makes it smaller. You can give him like a really tiny mouth. Like that. And then this one is opposite. It'll just make it bigger. So if you're trying to make someone's boobs a little bit bigger, you can kind of like tap that one on it and it just kind of makes them bigger.
Clint does that a lot.
On me.
On himself.
Okay.
What better model?
And then this one is push left.
Can you make his nose red now? Looks like Rudolph.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. How does this one work? This one is tricky. Okay. But what's funny is, okay, so this one is so you're pushing. So that, is it doing it in a circle though? Because it seems like.
I never used that one.
Which one are you doing?
So this one is a push tool. So if I go down, it pushes to the right. If I go up, it pushes to the left. If I go left, it pushes down. If I go right, I do not know why they would not make it so what the direction you move your mouse is the direction that's pushing. So if you can't remember that, just keep playing around with it until you figure out what it is, and then undo it until that right there looks pretty good. So that's a little bit easier than a just using this top tool because this top one will
post that on tonight's.
Yeah. Okay, wait, so let's push this back down here. Okay, give him a nice big forehead.
It's a good thing Richard doesn't care.
Okay. So that's what the push is. And then, okay, so now this one is freeze. This one's really important. So the freeze and the unfreeze is when you want to protect certain parts of the picture. So, like, let's say this shirt line was really important. Or let's say someone was standing next to the fence, okay? But in this case, we're just going to do this shirt line. You can take this freeze tool and freeze his collar. So I'm going to paint on his collar right here. And what that does is now I can push this up here and it won't push his collar. So I can take this now and start pushing it down and it keeps the collar in place. So you would do that if someone was standing next to a door jamb, you would paint the door jamb and that way you can push stuff and it keeps the door jamb straight. And then this is unfreeze. And then this one's just to move around. So in this case, let's try to push this belly in.
So would you protect his arm, or would you try?
Well, the thing is, it's going to be kind of tricky because if you don't push his arm with it, why does his arm look all funky like that? Or is that just how it is? See right there that the wrist. So we're just going to push this in just like this. And if you go too small, you're going to start getting bumps. So you don't want to go too small.
He's got a really fat
If you
arm.
zoom in because you have to do a tiny little thing, just zoom in to use it when it's smaller. Because then you won't get so many bumps. You'll be able to see it better.
Okay, so let me unfreeze this again. Okay, so we're going to take this. So we're going to try both the push one and we're going to try this one. And we're going to see. And I'm trying to do a bigger tool just so it pushes in like that. But so now his shoulder needs to come in. Looks kind of buff. Okay. So that was using just that main push one up here for a warp. Okay, so we're going to undo that and see the difference between the push.
Da push.
Perfect. Okay.
Well,
So yeah, that is tricky. I think I've only used.
See how it's doing that, but then it's like making his arm like.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat tool.
Pretty good. Which one are you on?
This is push.
Oh.
So it's not really doing.
push it real
it's not really doing just like a circle. It's almost like doing everything within the brush size.
Yeah, I mean, that's good when you're trying to get it straight, too.
I just wish that it was like the same direction as like your mouse went.
Can you make
Every time I
Yeah.
look at it, I just, you have to know Richard.
He's like a funny guy.
He would be fully approving this right now.
Yes, he would.
Okay, so now let's try to give him more of a. So let's push in like this part and then push out this part. Yeah, it really.
It doesn't take long to completely.
Yeah, it certainly. This. Here, wait. Let's take.
Perfectly natural. Looks perfect.
Here, let's go like this. Let's take this belly. Okay. And that pretty much looks like it's perfect. And there's the before and after.
I can see how you really worked that belly down.
Yeah. So that's okay. So then another thing that I'll do sometimes is I will highlight an entire arm right down the middle and then shift the whole arm over. So sometimes if that doesn't work, like let's try to fix his head. So I'm going to make a duplicate copy. So another way I would do this is take.
By all means, don't lose that.
Is to take this tool right here, and I'm going to kind of follow this line like right here, and like we'll come up here. And I'm going to refine this and feather it out. And I'm going to make a copy. So I'm going to right click it and go copy. So now I have the head, just like if I turn these off down here, I have just the head as a layer. So with this, I can now take this and just push it down. So a lot of time that works too, if the Liquify is not working. So, hold on, wait, let me get, before you take a picture, we got to get that. Here, take it like that.
Okay, without exits.
Facebook.
There you go. Oh, now you're in it. Okay, so I'll do that, like if you can't, sometimes I'll take the entire picture, I'll go all the way up to the sky, go down the person's shoulder, down their arm, and then down to the floor, and I take the entire half of the picture and just push the whole thing over. Just to like cut someone's arm, like down. Because sometimes Liquify won't work if it's a really big group picture, and if you start liquefying something, you're making someone else bigger. So I'll go down that entire line and just cut the whole picture in half. And then you just feather it, and that'll help that. So should we save this?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I'm
let's-
sending it to Denise right now.
Yeah, just say we taught everyone how to use Liquify today.
Oh,
Pretty much
Right to
perfect.
Richard.
You know, if you control J, it copies your layer or it copies your selection.
Oh, I had
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome. I haven't lost that hard.
We need another imitate Richard photo shoot.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was fun.
So we're going to go edit,
Just
export as JPEG. Oops.
Just let me go.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll obviously go over more techniques in Photoshop, but is there anything else that someone can think of that they were either struggling with or... Yeah.
I can't remember how to do this, and it's been really bugging me, but it's when you're going to crop a person out of the background,
Mm-hmm.
and you use I think it's the channels,
Mm-hmm.
to make it more black and white, separate them, that way you can highlight them. You know
Oh.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Okay. So when you switch over to channels, you can just select a certain channel in order to. I've never selected a person that way though.
Because it usually helps with the detail of the hair.
Okay. So I'll show you how I would do that. So let's find someone with frizzy hair, and you're gonna freak out when you see this tool.
Frizzy hair and a green screen removal or something like that. That's kind of what you're doing.
What are you doing?
You remember? You know when you do a selection and you go into refine edge, and then you take that paintbrush.
See, I've done that, but
Favorite
sometimes
tool
like it
ever.
won't fully get all of the hair.
But did
so
you?
use the channels you can get like the.
But did you
smallest-
do the paintbrush and paint on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So you use like smart radius and everything like that.
no, not that.
Well, with the little brush thing with the
Not a
refined edge
problem. I'll
menu,
mail it
Oh.
out tomorrow.
it will get like the top of the arch and then the bottom of the arch, but it won't get that little middle of the arch of the hair.
So then, how would you merge your selection from a channels layer?
I can't remember. But you make it like clear, pure black and white,
Mhm.
so you can see the background pretty much turns white and the person's so.
See, and I'll sometimes do color selection too. So, like with color selection, you go up to select and then you go color range, and you can hold down. So you can like select this blue up here, and I can start holding down shift and add more and more. So now it's selecting all the blues in this picture. And now everything except for, or everything that's blue is selected. So that's one way that works really good. And even though it doesn't look like her hair selected, it actually is selected a lot more. That's a good way to actually do green screen removal in that SimCity tutorial. I was like, here's another way to do it, but it doesn't work as good. And I sat there and did it, and it came out like perfect. And I was like, oh, okay. So... okay, so using that method, let's right click this and well let's invert this and then we'll duplicate this. Let's see how good that came out. And then let's oh, what am I doing? Okay, so that's using the color selection, and you can see it's pretty chunky right in here. So if we do it again, but this time, I'm going to just manually select it like this. And you said, I mean, that's pretty much perfect right there. You wouldn't have to really edit that at all. Okay, and right click and go refine edge. And this paintbrush, is that the one you used?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so on this brush right here, and my size. How do you get the size to go bigger?
You gotta go all the way to the
Oh,
top.
all the way up here. Okay. And then now, as you paint on these corners, once you let go, it like, I mean, every time I've used that, it's done like a really good job. But I shoot also on green screen a lot, so if I know I'm gonna be removing a person, I'll shoot it on green screen because it seems like a lot of unnecessary work to sit here and do this. The only time I've really had to do this is if I'm cutting someone out of a, you know, like you said, you're removing someone out of the picture. And I've ended up just telling people, yeah, let's reshoot it.
Well, you could also use the delete with contact. Is it contact aware?
Content.
Oh, content aware? Yeah. And that's a new one in Photoshop. Okay, and then let's switch this one to erase. Or how do you get that part out? Let's see how this one did it. So those hairlines now compared to that one. So you can see like right here compared to like, wait, which one is the other one? Yeah, that one. So that one versus that one. And then here, let's try your channels thing. So let's take a look at this. So you were saying you would take the layer, go to channels.
You find the channel with the highest contrast between the subject and the background.
So probably that one, right? And then what do you just do? Hold down Control and select it? So I just held down Control and I clicked this and it made a selection based on that layer.
So I remember there was something to do with like copying it or something like that. Then you could blacken the blacks and whiten the whites.
Well, now that I have the selection, you could, I mean, technically, you know, with all these different tools, you can do like the, like dodge and burn, and you can like specify, like, are you trying to make their...
Well, it was just a way to bring out the contrast between the hair and the background.
Mhm.
Say it was like you had a tree in the background.
Oh, so that way it would...
Yeah.
Let me see how good this selection ended up being. Where's my copy? Undo until... Oh, it's opposite. So I need to go back and invert it. Now when I copy, I have a layer of just that. So yeah, I mean, I've never done it that way. Was that a tutorial you found online?
Yeah, like a year ago.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's kind of nice about Photoshop is that there's like 1,000 different ways to do like the same thing. And sometimes certain ways work and
For
sometimes they
different
don't at
situations.
all. Yeah. Especially like if their hair's by a tree, that painting one, when the selection probably wouldn't work at all because it can't differentiate the difference between a tree and a thing. So your idea of doing the channels, especially if the tree's a different color, that's actually pretty cool. I've never even thought about. The only time I've even used channels is when I'm trying to, I'll do it on clouds. So I get a channel of clouds, and then I make a selection of the clouds, and then you can paint clouds on a picture just with like a white brush, and that comes out really good. See, I mean, look, that's like perfect. You can't even tell that that's not by this background. Okay, so like this arm right here too, that is one to where I would have froze this edge and then probably just push that in. And it's so if I just go down to, let's turn all this stuff off. And we'll duplicate this. And then we'll go Liquify. And then I'll take the freeze and I'll just kind of freeze this edge. And then I'll take the push and then just go like this. And then sometimes, like, see this edge right here, how it accidentally pulled the background? I'll just push that back the other direction, like that. So now that was using this tool, but I wonder how good it would have been with the push. That's actually pretty cool. It does it like way smoother. Yeah.
I think I really like that tool. I've never really used that one.
I mean, instead of having to push the whole thing, and then over here, I can just push this the other direction.
But it kind of does it without really screwing up the shape of
Right.
the arm.
Yeah, whereas that
So
other brush,
nice.
I just don't understand why they are pushing it in different directions.
Yeah, that's weird.
Give her alien eyes. Give her alien
Maybe
eyes.
so that's what. Maybe because when you pull it away from it,
Is that small
then
eyes or big?
you're
eyes?
seeing what
Oh,
it's
big.
doing more. Do you think, Clint? If you're pulling away and you're wanting it to go down, then maybe you can see it better or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I just don't get. I mean, if I wanted to push this to the left, you'd think you'd. Oh, that's a different tool. Look how it's going down.
Yeah, that's so weird. I'm sure they have a reason for it somewhere.
I was trying to hold down like shift and see if it did
you
anything.
did you use the one where you make everyone's eyes all big?
Alien eyes. Alien eyes.
So you're saying go bigger on the eyes?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
with this
let's
one?
open her eyes up a little bit more. Let's go
Anime.
anime. No, that other side's a little bit too big.
I've fixed. Sometimes people have a lazy eye, and I'll either. It's actually easier on a lazy eye to shrink their other eye to match, and then you don't even notice it really. That's mean.
What?
Just giving her alien eyes. Oh, okay. Now we
That's
can do
not
it to
mean.
Richard.
Girls like anime eyes.
Oh. Okay, and then actions too, the same thing. We kind of went over that last week. Importing, pretty much on an action, you can just double click it after you download it, and it'll just show up right in here, and then you can go and hit play on something, and it'll just start applying it. I don't know what that one was. And then a lot of times you can just go in here and start like messing with, So a lot of actions will still let you make changes to, their layers. And if you're really trying to, I prefer tutorials over actions. So I like going on, just Google and searching how to do something, and then they sit there and walk you through step by step how to do something. And the nice thing about tutorials over downloading an action and just applying it is then you're actually learning what the tools do. And even if you're learning a tutorial of something that you'll never even use, it will still teach you the concept of what the tool's doing, and then you can start applying that tool to other things. Okay, what else? Should be good for now, right?
Yeah.
Trying to think of.
Do you have any questions?
I'm wondering, this is probably basic, but when you were running that action, can you bring one of them back up? Whatever one you had up.
Okay, so like this one,
Sure.
and just hit play.
So when you were changing it
Mm-hmm.
over on the right.
So these are like color fill things. So because it has a slider down here, it shows you that you can actually edit this part of it. So they were actually using like a fill. So to edit this one, they used like this thing right here where you can go like solid color. So that's why I had the ability to change it. So I just double clicked on this, and then you can just drag this around. But a lot of times it's if they're not using smart adjustments. So these smart adjustments mean that you can go back and like make changes to them. Whereas if you go up here and go image adjustments, and then you go like brightness and contrast, that permanently changes the picture. Whereas if you would have done a brightness and contrast down here, you can go and make changes to it later. So I like to do all my adjustments this way. Versus...
You can do, so see how you're doing the whole entire picture?
Uh-huh.
You can just do certain areas, like you had changed.
Yeah, it has a mask associated.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
each of these
that's what I-
squares are a mask. Yeah, so I could then take this... Let's see, which one's the craziest? I don't know what I did to make them look so crazy right here. Okay, so I could take that, and then now I could start painting black, which is the whole concept of the mask. And that's really good, too, for, like, a lot of actions will be, like, getting rid of red in their face, and you apply it to the whole picture, but you only want to paint it on their face. So, a lot of actions are kind of... So they have actions that kind of just apply this effect to the whole thing, and then sometimes I kind of feel like the action's kind of too much, kind of too overkill, and that's why I keep a copy of the original. And a lot of times I end up taking the original and fading out the action like 50%, and then that way it kind of keeps the... Like, I like this vintage one that I use all the time, but at their 100%, it's like crazy. So I end up pulling it down to about 30.
I usually always pull them down.
Yeah. And there's a lot of free ones out there. I mean, they have a lot of paid ones out there, but you can usually find quite a bit of free stuff out there too. But the disadvantage of using actions is you're not really learning what they're doing. And our goal is to like learn, because I mean, otherwise we're just hitting a button.
Right.
Now it's okay to do that if you're trying to process, 50,000 pictures.
It depends on what job I'm doing. if I'm just doing it just to get it out, I will use action. Because it just cuts workflow.
See, whereas the stuff I like to do is like one single photo as like a project, and then we'll be editing one photo for like a couple hours. And in that case, I would probably
Or
never
what I'll
use
do
an
is
action.
take one photo, I'll edit it the way I like it, and then I create my own actions. I have my own set of actions that I've created that I use on different situations.
Right.
And then I just go back because I know, and you know, if I'm using this background, I want to like this out. Blah 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 blah.
So,
And then I make my own. So then it's quick, and I'm using my own.
Right.
so
You
all
know how you got those actions. You
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah, because I create them myself.
So I'll do that too. You can easily copy. So you know how you have to hit play and then it does all this stuff. You don't have to do that every single time. Once it creates those layers on top, a lot of time you can grab all those layers and just drag them over to another picture. So sometimes I'll do like, let me find my, here. Let's do like something like this. I have no clue what this one even is. Perfect. Okay, so I could take this and then open up another picture. And then I can go to this layer, this image, grab this whole layer right here, which their edit was all this stuff, and it's in a group. I can just take it and drag it right over to here. And then it applies the whole thing right to it. And then you'd flatten it, save it. So if I'm doing a whole group of pictures, I would actually take this image and shrink it down and keep it right over here. And then I open up all my other images over here. And then I would take this and then I would click here, grab that, drag it over here, flatten it, save it, next. So I keep one open the whole time. And then I'm just copying it over. But in that case, if I'm doing a whole bunch, I wouldn't sit there and do the TIFF files. It's just too big. In that case, I'd probably go into Lightroom, export them all as JPEG 100%,
JPEG, yeah.
bring them into here, and then do them, and then just resave them. Because the thing is, you don't want to edit in JPEG mode, because if you're in a JPEG, every time you click save, you're compressing it over and over and over. That's why it's better if you're working on a project to keep it as a Photoshop or a TIFF file until your final. I usually don't convert it to a JPEG until I'm ready to like hand it off to a printer, upload it, give it to the client. JPEG would be the last step. But in the case where you're doing 2,000 images and you're trying to apply an action, that's kind of now. Is there a? I know that you can right click this too, and then you could say duplicate, and then you can specify what image. So you can actually have it right click dupe. So I think you could probably create an action that copies it off this image.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You know what I mean? Because that would speed it up
Yeah.
a lot. So if we deleted these, let's delete these and see if it works.
Can you hotkey those actions?
Oh, like this right here, and then just set it to a button?
Set it to a button and then...
I don't know. Can you? Are you telling me?
I don't know.
That would be
It
interesting.
seems like it should be something you could do.
I'm sure there's a way.
Not.
Yeah.
You need to.
Yeah, you're supposed to research it and then be like, do you know that you can
Hey,
research?
Adobe.
Okay, so I'm going to try to
Building up.
create an action real quick. So I'm going to start on this picture, and I'm going to, here, let's just go all the way up here. And then we're going to go new, and we're going to go test. And we're going to go save, record. Okay, so right now it's recording. So I'm going to go to this image, right-click the group, duplicate, switch this over to Richard's picture. See, I wonder if it's going
I
to.
don't know if it would do that.
Click OK. Come back over here, and let's stop it. Look, it said select next document. Okay, so let's try it now. So let's take this and hit play. Okay, so that worked, but let's try it on a new picture. That's the real tricky thing is.
Or open up 3 or 4.
Oh, it grabbed it from Richard's picture. So that didn't work unless this was probably closed. So you could do one at a time. Nope, that didn't work either. Did you see how it like blurred this one?
It selected it from that one, but it wanted to just face it into Richard's.
Oh, and then it was gone?
Yeah.
Yeah, but see how that says select previous document and that says select next document? Play. The object, oh, it's not currently available. Yeah, that's what it... Lame. I'm sure there's a way to do it, and I wish I actually knew how. I don't record actions very often.
Well, if,
But that's one of those
I
batch
was,
things.
If I was going to make a new action, I would actually start recording, go to that action that you originally did,
Mm-hmm.
and I do the whole process over again. And I make it.
Oh, right. So, yeah, so I could have hit record and then gone down to that cotton candy one.
Yes.
Hit play, go in there, make your adjustment, like fade it out a little bit, and then flatten the image, and then stop the action. And then that
the only
would
thing
have...
you don't want to include in that is if you're like doing any spot healing or things like that, because if you're doing an action, it's not going to be the same on every photo. Or like if you did.
See, the only thing that stinks about that is look
or-
how long it takes to apply that one action, whereas dragging it over.
Mhm.
I'd almost feel like dragging it over, flattening it, saving it would be faster.
Yeah, it depends on how many steps I have, because I have different steps with like my skin smoothing and things like that.
See, and
And
skin smoothing on
sometimes
babies is
I've got,
probably
like-
different than on adults, right?
Yes.
Yeah, totally different.
Oh, totally different. I do a lot more on babies than I do.
Don't smooth the crack away.
Well, and you don't need to as much on babies either, because one swipe is like enough.
Unless Jamie's like,
it
nope, I do it that.
it depends on the baby.
Yeah. So if they're like really zitty babies, I guess.
Sometimes I don't do it hardly at all. I
This-
think the hardest thing on babies is jaundice.
Do you have anything that you would do for like a tear in the eye? I had a lot of her where she had just this watery eye, so it was like so shiny just on one eye. It's like so hard.
And what stinks is she even asked you about that. And you can
Well,
just
I thought
edit out
a
that
tear, like a tear down here is easy, but like the
Yeah,
whole
the
eye being
inside the
watery,
eye.
I should have realized like
That's
to
hard.
just go
So zoom
wipe
into
her
it?
eye. I would have to find the ones
Oh.
like she didn't have it the whole time.
I'd probably keep the bottom, and then you could maybe clone out the top line. So just where it separates from the tear to the actual eyeball, you might be able to erase that line. But it'd be kind of hard to do.
It depends on how prominent it is. If I would even touch it, if it gets into the eye area,
Look how cute
it's
she
just
is.
too much time.
She's so cute.
I can't stand working on the eyes. And inevitably, if there's ever a hair, it will go right in front of an eye. On the pupil and like cursing.
See, and if you're doing one picture,
begging.
then yeah, I'll